Good evening. Welcome to the Thursday, February 25th, 2021 Kern County Planning Commission hearing. The clerk, will you please call roll?
Mr. Ashley?
Here.
Mr. Judge?
Here.
Mr. McGivney?
Here.
Ms. Skidmore?
Here.
Mr. Sprague?
Here.
Mr. Hall?
Here.
Mr. Murphy?
Here.
Ms. Simon?
Here. The County of Kern provided notice that as a result of the declared federal, state, and local emergencies due to COVID-19 pandemic, and in light of the governor's order, this Kern County Planning Commission meeting is not physically open to the public. Testimony and general public comment are accepted via email or voice message to the clerk of the commission prior to tonight's meeting, and live comments via teleconference will be held during this meeting. If you are interested in providing comments on any item on the agenda and have not received direction on how to do so, please contact the clerk at 661-496-7487. We will begin tonight's meeting with commission member announcements or reports.
Amen.
Seeing none, we will move on to...
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. I just want to make sure, our clerk is indicating that there are a lot of phone numbers that have called in that she does not recognize any of the names. And so I know you read it before, but I just want to reiterate for anybody watching this, to be able to speak tonight, we need to know your name, and you have to call the clerk to register so that she knows what phone number you're calling from so that we can appropriately call you out when it's your turn to speak. So again, I'm just going to read that number one more time. If you are called in watching this and you are wanting to participate by providing comments, you need to contact the clerk this evening at 661-496-7487. So again, sorry, Madam Chair, I just wanted to make sure.
No.
Oh, sorry. And then we also are noticing that a lot of people keep trying to unmute themselves. Everybody needs to stay muted until the clerk calls your name, at which point then you will be able to be unmuted and provide your comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. We will move on to approval of the minutes from February 11th, 2021.
Motion.
We have a motion.
Second.
Doing it itself.
I second that motion.
Great. We have a motion and a second. Do we need to
Vote all in favor?
do all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Great, thank you. Item D, cases withdrawn or requests for continuance. Can you walk us through this, Mr. Murphy?
I will. Thank you again, Madam Chair. We have one item this evening that staff is recommending it be referred back to staff. That is GPA 5, CUP 53, all in map 1715. The applicant is Jim Nottingham by Sustainable Architecture. And again, the recommendation is that that project be referred back to staff. I would note that you did get a number of handouts this evening. We informed the community that that was the recommendation, but we still did receive some comments regarding that project, and they just were provided to your commission. I just note that for the record. But again, our recommendation is to refer that project back to staff.
Okay, and do we need a motion for this? Great, so I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to refer back to staff on item number 5.
Second.
Great, we have a motion and a second. One minute and we'll do a vote.
All ayes.
All ayes, motion passed. We're moving on to item E, consent items. These items are scheduled before the Planning Commission, which are being recommended for approval by the staff, and the applicant has been informed of any special conditions and has no objection. The hearing on these items may be expedited if no member of the commission or audiences wish to speak, comment, or ask questions on the case. Mr. Murphy, will you walk us through these cases?
I will. Thank you again, Madam Chair. You have 4 cases that are on the consent calendar tonight. The first is case number 1. This is track 7368. Our applicant is Wonderful Lost Hills Development, LLC by Swanson Engineering. This project is located on the east side of Lost Hills Road and north of State Route 46 in the Lost Hills area. The request before your commission this evening is tentative track map number 7368, which proposes the division of a 239-acre gross site into 49 lots consisting of 11.69 acres. Those lots would range in size from 6,000 square feet to just under 6,500 square feet for residential uses. This project also includes a just over a 227-acre designated remainder. There are a number of development variations proposed that are incorporated in your agenda and then in the staff report that is being requested this evening. This project is located in a property that is zoned A and has an R1 zone classification in suspense. The staff recommendation is to approve tentative track map with all the associated development variations to allow a 55-foot wide corner lot where 60 feet is required, the development variation to allow a 50-foot wide interior lot where 55 feet is required, and the limited design variations to allow blocks less than 2 tiers of lots wide and double frontage lots, all in accordance with the recommended conditions of approval, and then adopt the suggested findings as set forth in the attached draft resolution. The second item on consent is case number 2. This is conditional use permit number 2, map 4, and conditional use permit number 4, map 5. Our applicant is Pobich Construction. This project is located at a segment along Interstate 5 between County Line Road and Twisselman Road, all in the Lost Hills area. The requests are conditional use permits to allow 6 temporary construction staging areas that would aid in the construction of Interstate 5 improvements for approximately 1 year, all located in an A zone district. The staff recommendation is to approve the conditional use permits in accordance with the recommended conditions and adopt the suggested findings as set forth in the attached draft resolutions. Case number 3, this is tract 7362, zone variant 17, map 230, and zone variance 18, map 230. Our applicant is Roseman 5 Properties LLC by DeWalt Corporation. This project is located on the west side of 20th Street West, approximately 1,250 feet south of Marie Avenue in the Rosamond area. There are 3 actions on this item for your commission. The first is vesting tentative tract map number 7362. They would propose to divide the 16.83 acre site into 88 lots. They would range in size from just over 4,700 square feet net to just over 6,400 square feet net. These are for residential use. This project includes 4 recreational lots, range in size to just under 5,000 square feet to just under 9,000 square feet. The site includes a 2.8 acre street lot and then a 2.18 acre detention basin lot. There are a number of limited design variations that are also requested for this particular project. The site also includes a zone variance to allow the reduction of lot size for 87 lots, with the minimum lot size of 4,752 square feet, where the minimum lot size is 6,000 square feet in the R2 PD FPS district, and then also a zone variance to allow a minimum lot area per dwelling unit of 2,376 net square feet, where 2,722 net square feet is required, also in the R2 PD FPS zone district. The staff recommendation is to approve vesting tentative tract map with all the associated limited design variations to allow the blocks less than 2 tiers of lots wide, double frontage lots, the development variations to allow the 34-foot wide private access where the 60-foot wide public access is required, deletion of the turnaround at terminus of dead-end streets, interior lots with the minimum width of 54 feet where 55 feet is required, and the minimum depth of 88 feet where 100 feet is required. Recommend approval of the corner lots with the minimum width of 54 feet where 60 is required, and also the minimum depth of 88 feet where 100 feet is required. Approve the zone variance to allow the reduction in lot size for the 88 lots, and then also approve the zone variance to allow the minimum net lot area of 2,376 net square feet per dwelling unit where the 2,722 net square feet is required. All of these are subject to the conditions of approval, and then staff is recommending that your commission adopt the suggested findings as set forth in the attached draft resolution. And then the last item on consent this evening is case number 6, general plan amendment number 4, map 10211, zone change case number 26, map 10211, and parcel map waiver 4-20. Our applicant is Varner Brothers, Inc. by Swanson Engineering. This project is located on the northeast corner of Ward Street and Lyle Street in northeast of Roberts Lane in the Bakersfield area. The 3 actions before your commission this evening on this item. The first is to amend the land use open space conservation element of the Metropolitan Bakersfield General Plan from map code LMR to map code SI on approximately 1.53 acres. The second item is a change in zone classification from R1 to M2 district on approximately 0.56 acres, excuse me. And then finally, parcel map waiver number 4-20, proposing the merger and subdivision of lots 77 through 91 of tract 1362 that would result in the 2.24 acre parcel. The staff recommendation is to advise your commission to recommend the Board of Supervisors approve the general plan amendment as requested, approve the zone change as requested, and approve the parcel map waiver as requested, all subject to the recommended conditions of approval, and adopt the suggested findings as set forth in the attached draft resolution. That completes the reading of the consent calendar.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Madam Clerk, were there any public comments submitted on any consent items this evening?
No, there were not.
Do we have any commissioners who would like to discuss individual items? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion on the 4 cases on consent.
I would make a motion to approve items number 1, 2, 3, and 6 as read into the record by staff on the consent agenda.
Great, is there a second?
Second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. We will cast our votes.
Four ayes, one no.
Okay, we will move on to item F, which is public presentations. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons, is there a right of appeal?
There is, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Mr. Murphy, go ahead.
3 of these projects are subject to appeal. Those are items 1, 2, and 3. For projects where the Planning Commission action is final, those actions are subject to appeal to the Board of Supervisors by any interested person, and no development proposed by any application may be authorized until after the final date of appeal. An appeal may be filed with the Kern County Planning and Natural Resources Department located at 2700 M Street, Suite 100 in Bakersfield, with a filing fee of $540 on forms we have available at the department. For item number 2, that filing must be made within 14 days of and including the date of the hearing. For track maps, which include items 1 and 3, that appeal must be filed within 10 days from the date of decision of the Planning Commission. Any such appeal must be accompanied by the appeal fee of $540. Again, if no appeal is received, the action of your commission is final.
Thank you. Now we will move on to item F, public presentations. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons desiring to address the commission on any matter not on this agenda and over which the commission has jurisdiction. Speakers are limited to 2 minutes. Madam Clerk, are there any individuals wishing to speak on public presentation?
Madam Chair, no, there are not.
Great. We will move on to item G, public hearings. And that would be item number 4. Great.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Simon will be making today's presentation for that item.
Thank you. We'll bounce around.
Thank you,
Ms.
Mr.
Simon, thank
Murphy,
you.
and thank you, Chairwoman Skidmore, and good evening, Commissioners. The proposal before you this evening, before I get into the proposal, I would like to introduce to you Nicole Huskin. She is the project planner on this project, and she will be doing the maps and kind of helping me out with the presentation this evening. So can you go ahead and put the,
Welcome, Nicole.
It's our first time here, so.
Well,
Welcome.
Welcome. We'll make sure we go real easy on you, okay?
We appreciate that. The proposal before you this evening is a request for a conditional use permit to allow a permanent event venue for special occasions such as weddings, birthday celebrations, baby showers, and similar events. The project site is located at 23993 Sand Canyon Road, approximately 12 miles north of East Tehachapi Boulevard. The site is designated 8.5 resource management by the Sand Canyon Specific Plan and Zoned A exclusive agriculture. The site is currently developed with a single-family residence and a 1,500 square foot detached barn on an approximate 18.7 acre parcel. As you can see on your screen, the project parcel is bisected by Sand Canyon Road. However, the project site will be taking place on the west portion of the parcel. The adjacent properties to the north, east, south, and west are currently undeveloped, and the outlying area is developed with sparse residential development. As outlined in the operational statement by the applicant, the request includes 84 events per year, 8 events per month between the months of May and October, and 6 events during the months of November and April. 6 events per month during the months of November through April. The events would be scheduled on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays only between the hours of 10 a.m. and 10 p.m., with an hour after the event concludes for cleanup. The events will host a maximum of 300 guests, and there will be 2 full-time site employees, which are the 2 project applicants, Mary Ann Lucas and Victor Polina. The applicants will be the primary contact and host for all scheduled events and will conduct tours and client meetings. Tours and meetings will be conducted Tuesdays and Sundays during a pre-scheduled time between the hours of 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. Staffing for events would be through hired caterers, security, setup, and takedown crews, of which would be hired by the client. Food will not be prepared on site. Specifically, a licensed caterer would be contracted by the client and will prepare food off-site and then be served at the event. The applicant indicates that all hired vendors will be required to be licensed, insured, bonded, and the client will be required to purchase day of insurance for events, all of which will be on file with the applicant. The applicant proposes amplified sound for the events would be contained within the detached barn structure, and all supplies and equipment for the venue will be stored within the barn when not in use. The applicant proposes to provide a portable restroom trailer, which will be cleaned and properly maintained as necessary. And finally, any needed water by caterers or other hired contractors will not be provided by on-site water. During the course of processing this request, staff has received 5 comment letters from county departments and affected agencies. Those conditions have been included with your draft resolutions this evening. In addition, staff has received 4 letters in support from area residents and a total of 5 letters in opposition. 3 of those letters have been submitted from an adjacent property owner, while the remaining 2 letters are from area residents. That includes the late comments that have been distributed to your commission this evening. In addition, staff checked our mailbox in the office today and email boxes for additional comment letters, and so at this time, your commission has been provided all correspondence that staff has received. The letters in opposition contain concerns such as impacts on potable water reservoirs, excessive water usage for the area, increase in noise and light pollution, a significant increase in nighttime traffic on narrow and windy roads without streetlights, potential for intoxicated drivers on roads, trespassers using illegal drugs, being drunk, starting fires, defecating or vomiting on adjacent properties, and finally, the area is rural and not compatible with the surrounding area to host event venues such as this. Staff has addressed these concerns within your staff reports this evening. However, I'd like to offer a summary to address these concerns. In regard to water and sewage concerns, the applicant proposes to install a multi-stall portable restroom trailer, which would be provided for all events, and bottled water would be served to guests. Other hired contractors would need to supply their own water. Therefore, potable water will not be utilized for events, only for landscaping or private residential use that would be allowed regardless of the proposal. In addition, the property is zoned for agricultural use, and therefore the applicant could, by right, plant crops or have grazing on the property. Regarding the concern of noise and light pollution, amplified sound is proposed to be contained within the barn structure, and therefore amplified music will not be played outside. And as such, staff is recommending a condition of approval that includes prohibiting the use of outside amplified music. The project site is a very large property and is located below surrounding hills, which staff believes will serve as a buffer for any noise created by the venue. To eliminate light glare to surrounding properties, a lighting plan will also be required prior to any commencement of activities on site that is subject to the dark skies ordinance, and that requires all outside lighting to be shielded in order to eliminate any glare to neighboring properties. In response to traffic concerns, the applicant would be required to submit and receive approval of a traffic control plan from the Kern County Public Works Department for each event, and would be required to provide event signage as approved by Public Works Department. This will allow area drivers to be aware that an event is taking place and will help to control the flow of traffic entering and leaving the site. In response to the potential for intoxicated drivers, the applicant states that each contractor will be licensed for safe serving of any food and beverages provided. Additionally, a recommended condition of approval is included to terminate the service of alcohol to guests an hour prior to the close of each event. For similar projects in the past throughout the county, the Public Works Department has conducted studies to determine if the rate of intoxicated driver-related incidents has increased as a result of similar event venue activity on other conditional use permits. And at this time, they have not found an increase. To deter any trespassing, the proposed plan shows fencing to be installed surrounding the area where the events will take place. A condition of approval is included that would ensure the fence is installed prior to any commencement of activities on site. At this time, evidence has not been provided to confirm that the event venue would pose a liability risk to neighboring property owners. Letters in support state that the project site is well maintained and that venues such as this are not available in Sand Canyon, and the proposed venue and its location would be an asset to the community. With this in mind, staff is not recommending permanent status of the application as proposed. However, staff recommends a temporary approval of 3 years to allow the applicant to work through any issues that may arise over the next few years, as the permit would run with the land, not the applicant. This has been a standard recommendation of this department over the recent years for event venue proposals. And at the end of the 3rd year, the applicant could apply for a modification to the conditional use permit that would then allow staff to reevaluate the proposal to determine if the project is compatible with the area, including an evaluation of increased vehicle accidents, trespassing incidents, potential water and sewage studies, and general nuisances. Staff has been in discussions with the applicant to discuss these items, and therefore staff is recommending these additional conditions specifically for your commission to consider as part of the project in order to promote the health, safety, and welfare of the surrounding area. Number 1, a limitation of guests per event shall be a maximum of 300 people. Events shall occur Friday, Saturday, and Sundays only, with operating hours from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., with an hour before and after each event for setup and cleanup. Client tours will be limited to Tuesdays and Sundays between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. Concerts or similar events shall not be permitted. Events shall be limited to special occasions such as weddings, anniversary parties, birthday parties, baby showers, etc. Amplified music of any kind is not allowed outside the barn structure. Non-amplified, non-electric, or acoustical music would be allowed outside the barn structure. The number of events will be limited to 84 total events per year, 8 events per month between May and October, and 6 events per month between November and April. Therefore, staff concludes the request sufficiently demonstrates compliance with the necessary findings, and therefore recommends your commission approve the conditional use permit for a duration of 3 years in accordance with the recommended conditions and adopt the suggested findings as set forth in the draft resolution. Thank you. Staff is available for any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Simon. Madam Clerk, do we have anyone on the line as far as the applicant goes?
Madam Chair, yes, we do. Excuse me. Yes, we do. Well, you can start with the applicants are both on the line, and their representative, Seth Weinstein, is also on the line.
Great. If any one of the applicants or representative would like to speak on the item, please press star 6, and you can make any additional comments if you would like. And please state your
This
name.
is Seth Weinstein, attorney for
Thank you.
Ms. Lucas and Mr. Polina. Are they unmuted as well?
They would need to press star 6 and state their name.
Okay. Yeah, I'll make sure they do that. Maybe give them a second just to do that.
Miriam Lucas,
Victor Polina.
Great, we can hear all of you.
Okay. So once again, I'll just announce myself again. I'm Seth Weinstein, attorney for Ms. Lucas and Mr. Polina, and I'm going to have them address a couple of the concerns. I would just like to start by requesting a permanent conditional use permit, if that would be a possibility. The reason being that a 3-year conditional use permit in our, in reviewing this, I think would be too short, as do my clients. They think it's a little bit too short, and here's why. Reason being is right now we're in the middle of the COVID pandemic, and they don't anticipate many, if any, events until at least this pandemic ends, which according to the people in charge of the country say it'll be about a year from now. So that automatically cuts down the amount of time they have to see, ultimately how this is all going to go to 2 years. And then, of course, people don't book their weddings for next week or 2 weeks in advance. That's 6 to 12 months, possibly longer in advance. So what we would ask for is a permanent conditional use permit be issued. And then if, of course, the county believes that a change needs to be made, then at that time, potentially call a hearing to tweak any of the conditions that the county thinks need to be tweaked in that regard. Now, the one thing I did not hear, which I had a question on, is what the conditional use permit, what staff recommends regarding the conditional use permit as it relates to the consumption of alcohol in terms of when it can be served. I apologize if I missed it, but I don't think that I heard anything about that. So what I would ask for is that alcohol service conclude at 9:30 p.m. My clients believe that they have enough safeguards in place to make sure that there is no risk to the community, and I appreciate Public Works stating that they haven't found that there would be a risk to the community with these types of venues. My clients do have, they believe, have enough safeguards in place. One potential idea that they had is that they're going to run shuttles from nearby hotels, and they're also going to try to coordinate with rideshare services and set up a designated area for rideshare. And that way that'll reduce any potential for drinking and driving, and also just driving in general, because people will not have to drive to the event location. Now I'd like to turn it over to, are there any questions or any comments in response to what I stated, or do you want to just turn it over to Ms. Lucas and Mr. Polina if they have anything to add?
We'll go ahead and turn it over to Ms. Lucas and Mr. Polina, and we might have questions for you at a later time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Marianne Lucas, and I did just want to mention on the 84 events, we don't plan to actually have 84 events during the year. We were informed that if a wedding had a rehearsal dinner the day before, only like 10 to 15 people, it's still considered an event. So that's why our number of events is large. But that's all really I had to add. Victor, do you want to say anything?
Yeah, we're also going to provide drink tickets for the guests, and we're going to have security on site, one security guard per 100 guests that's going to observe and report any activities going on within the vicinity, and they'll report to us, and we can report to the authorities if there's any like illegal drug use or potential drunken customers.
And let me also just add too, in terms of the drink tickets, there's going to be a maximum of 4 per guest over the age of 21.
And that's all we have.
That's it.
Okay, thank you so much. Madam Clerk, we'll move on to public comment on this item. Do we have anyone that would like to call in and speak on this topic?
Madam Chair, yes, we do. The first person registered is Kimberly Sheets.
Kimberly Sheets, please press *6 and state your name for the record.
My name is Kimberly Sheets.
We can hear you. Please proceed.
Okay, I'm sorry. No, really, it's been quite a problem. It kept on going out, I don't know why. So anyway, yes, ma'am. All right, I am the neighbor directly to the north of their establishment, and my biggest complaint, I have written down everything that they say that they're going to do, and that's fine, and I hope that they will stick with it. Because I am the closest neighbor to them, and my biggest complaint is the sound, because the soundproofing in that barn / dance hall, whatever you want to call it, it was entirely insufficient, and I mean just way too loud. And I have lived in this community for 34 years and moved out here 4 years ago. And first of all, I didn't know that they were going to be doing this, and no one has ever come over here to introduce themselves in the beginning when they were building and doing all this. So when they had their 3 events, I believe that it was, I couldn't believe it. The noise is insane, and if they're going to have to do something about that. That is just how it has to be.
Thank you, Ms. Sheets. Is there any other caller?
The next speaker is Randy Glass.
Please press *6 and state your name.
You get that, Randy Glass?
Yes, we can hear you. Please proceed.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yes, I live right above Kimberly. I'm in the 1,000-foot affected area, and the biggest concerns I got, well, you're talking about the hills blocking noise. They're basically located at the bottom of the canyon, and the noise can reverberate across the canyon. In addition to that, another thing I'm really concerned about is our road system. We have one road in, one road out. And if something happens along that road, we're stuck. And if there's any emergencies or anything like that, and people are piling out and don't know the road, and we could be virtually stuck at any time. The other concerns I got, basically, since I'm right above them, if they ran bright lights all night long or something like that, it would directly affect my property and my area. And so those are my main concerns. And, how long is this big? You say it's going to go on until 11 o'clock at night on the nights that they have people. That, if they shut them off directly at 11 o'clock, I guess there wouldn't be no problem. But if they're late turning things off and bringing things down, that leads into a problem. So I think as far as the 3-year conditional use, that's a very good idea. I understand what the lawyer's saying, but the 3-year conditional is a good idea. That way people can come after it runs for 3 years, then if it's not done right, shut it down. So that's my opinion. That's what I see. I've lived in this canyon for 11 years. It's a peaceful canyon. We defeated where they're going to bring windmills in here for the same reason. And I can't see why we want to bring a bunch of people in here to destroy our solitude. Thank you, and have a good day.
Thank you. Next caller?
The next speaker is Patty Moser.
Hello?
Hi, Patty, we can hear you. Please state your name for the record.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, okay, excellent. My name is Patty Mosier. Granted, I do not live right there in the affected area. However, I'm really hoping that this does get to happen. I've had the honor of touring the facility, and they've built like a lovely facility. They have explained to us just in the course of chatting before all of their plans to mitigate some of these concerns. And in my opinion, they're going above and beyond to try to work it out. They're even offering for many of us residents to be able to use the facility for the occasional baby shower or neighborhood get-together, things of that nature. And I'm really excited about that because this area, as much as I love the solitude, but we don't have any kind of a community area. And I honestly think that that would be a true asset. And the one person who has mentioned our narrow, winding roads, that is true. However, it is no narrower or windier than many of the other roads here in all of Tehachapi. Tehachapi is kind of noted for that. And yes, accidents happen, but not as many as what I think some are fearing. And if that was a problem, the shuttle idea is a very good idea. I'm just truly hoping that they do get to have their fair chance. I think it would be an asset to the community. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next caller?
The last registered speaker is Pat Verhagen.
Oh,
Hi, the next caller is Pat.
my
Please-
name is Pat. Hello?
Hi, please proceed. State your name.
Can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me?
The next caller is Pat
Can you hear me?
Verhagen.
All right. I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please proceed.
Hello?
Pat, we can hear you. Please state your name and proceed.
This is Pat Verhagen. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I believe that this venue is going to be an asset to our canyon. It's going to provide employment for some of the younger people to help take care of the facility. I also view it as no different than any of the wineries that we have in Bright Valley or over in the Stallion Springs area. We've needed something like this so people can get together here and have our birthday parties here in our canyon instead of having to rent venues in town, where we can rent venues right here in our own canyon. I have met Victor, and I've met his wife, and I've met Marianne, and they seem to be exceptionally nice people, and they have a really nice property, and it really has made the canyon look nicer. And I don't see any issue as long as they're done by 10 o'clock and they're finished up by 11 o'clock on a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday night. These are regular nights that people generally, adults are staying up late anyway. So I believe that this is going to work out real well. It's going to be an asset to the canyon for the kids that can work there and help clean the place, to us having a place to have our birthday parties. And as Patty said, we can have our own weddings and baby showers and stuff also. So I'm really looking forward to having them in our canyon. Thank you.
Thank you. Does that conclude our callers for this evening?
Madam Chair, yes, that was the last registered caller.
Great, thank you.
No, it is not. My name is Jason Beer. I registered.
Sir, hold on one moment.
And I'm on.
One moment. Do we need to have Jason call in to the clerk's number? How would we like to proceed, Mr. Murphy?
Madam Chair, I know that Mr. Veer has contacted staff, so I am aware that he wanted to speak today. I know that our clerk had sent him the information regarding how to provide that comment, and we had not responded from him. Clearly, he's on the phone, and he wanted to participate, so I think it's appropriate that we take his comment. I guess I would just ask him to tell us what phone number he is at so that we know which number he is on. But that would be my recommendation, as he clearly has contacted us ahead of time, and we believed we had reached out and provided him the appropriate information to register. But we don't have him on there yet, so I would just do that so that we know. But I apologize now. Maybe it's not appropriate for him to read his phone number over so everybody could hear it. But again, we are aware that he was wanting to speak, and so I would recommend that you let him provide his comments.
Jason,
Thank
please.
you. I have no issue with providing my phone number over the phone.
Okay, just make sure you state your name for the record, and please proceed.
Thank you. Thank you very much. My name is Jason, Jason Vierra, Vierra. Are we ready?
Yes, please proceed.
Thank you for the time. I think it's ironic that I only get 2 minutes to defend the right to my peace, privacy, and security that will either affect the rest of my life living here or until the day that I decide to move out of the area. So currently I have no trust in the information that was provided by the applicants or in the staff report that's been issued. The weddings have already been photographed at the venue and posted on the applicant's website. Alcohol was served there, including hard alcohol. I wonder if permits were actually sought before these events with alcohol took place. I find it disturbing and hard to believe any information that's going to be provided here on. The staff report should be discarded in its entirety, and because it's biased and it's skewed directly towards the permit, taking an approval and then wait and see approach. So you want to basically approve it for 3 years, so this has to affect our lives here, so that you wait and see what happens. No. A full vetting should be done prior to the approval. An example here is the study on drunk driving. Okay, where is that study? Is that study relevant? How does it apply to this area and the road conditions here? We haven't seen anything, only a a documented statement by somebody that the vetting has been done. The barn will effectively be a speaker box. There are double doors that open directly towards my property, which is downhill from the event. So basically, my property is the view for this entire event center. I have 40 acres, I have a farmhouse here, and I have a farm. All of my vehicles are on public display. My house, my property, all of my animals, everything is on public display 80 some odd times per year for God knows how many people are actually even going to show up. Where's my safety? Where's the safety and security for my family? This report doesn't include that, except in item 5, it says this permitting will not affect the safety and well-being of the community. I disagree. It will directly affect me. It will directly affect the property value and the resale of this property if I ever decide to sell it. Who would want to live in a fishbowl? I don't. But guess what? That's exactly what's going to happen. The neighbors have never come to talk to me. They have never addressed this. And further, this report does not have the detailed documentation to actually even allow us to have a proper hearing. Only a few people were notified when the whole entire community within Sand Canyon is going to be affected. Okay? They've already served, they have photos of Patron on their website advertising the consumption of alcohol at their event venue. And now you're telling me that it's going to be a safe place? I don't agree. The road here is a windy road with a lot of dips, very sharp curves, no streetlights, no guardrails with drop-offs into significant ditches. If there is an activity, an event here that's in full swing and there is an accident, if somebody in the community, which the roads go about 40 miles back here, they intersect throughout the entire community, and there's one single lane road, windy, with no streetlights, no guardrails, nothing, in and out of this entire community. If there's one accident, somebody has a heart attack in here, we're about 15 minutes from the hospital. We're about 30 minutes from the sheriff department. There's no safety up here unless we provide the safety. Now, all of a sudden, we're going to bring in a lot of transient traffic to come and observe what's going on, people that would never have any reason to be up here. There's one way in and one way out, nothing going on in here. So the only people that are currently here are residents, people that come to serve the residents, or the very few businesses that purely serve the residents. This will completely, drastically change the entire outlook of this entire community. And I do not want that in here to affect me the way that it's going to. So I would appreciate it if this board decides to make a determination to say, yes, we approve it, okay, at least have the decency to take a step back and do a thorough examination and evaluation of every single affected parcel that's here. We were told that an environmental impact study didn't need to be performed simply because it's a pre-existing property. Well, guess what? The property was just built. They just built the house and the barn a year ago. It wasn't here. We are pre-existing to this, and now that's coming into our space in order to affect us. So no, it should not be a go ahead and permit for 3 years or indefinitely, as their attorney is proposing, and then we'll see if there's an issue. No. This community exists in peace today. It's going to be affected, and the studies, the examinations of those effects should be performed and completed thoroughly and exhaustively to protect the people up here. And by the way, if people want to be in an area where there's community centers and that sort of thing, they can move out of Sand Canyon. This is directly changing every single aspect of this canyon. And I would sincerely appreciate if this board would seriously look at the effects that this is going to have on this community. The only people within 1,000 feet of this property were notified. There was no public notification. There is an obscure newspaper that was identified in order to put the article in to document that this hearing was even going to take place. A newspaper that I can't even find out where that's located. All I can find is online, they have articles of Sequoia. Okay, Sequoia is nowhere near Sand Canyon. It's not anywhere near Tehachapi. This wasn't even published in the Tehachapi newspapers.
Sir,
So there's a
would you
lot
wrap
of
up your
issues here
comments,
going.
please?
I would really expect that the board would reject this request. And if there is a request that is on the table, that it will be thoroughly examined by all parties and a real hearing will be performed.
Thank you. I believe that concludes our callers.
Madam Chair, yes, it does.
Great. I will then return back to our commission for any comments or questions for staff or engagement with staff.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I just wanted to make one comment. There was a question by one of the call-in applicants, Pat Bergen, about fire access. I'm looking at the site map, and there is a secondary access located just at the parking lot off the main road, as well as the main entrance. So there is secondary access there for fire department and sheriff's response to the area, according to what I'm looking at on my computer here.
There is not.
Sir, please press
There
stars.
is one entrance.
Sir, please,
There is
the
one
public,
entrance.
sir, the public comment period has been discontinued, and we are moving on to our comments for the commissioners. If we have any questions for you, we will engage. Mr. Murphy, do you have any comments?
I do, Madam Chair. Thank you very much. There's just a few things that were mentioned. I just want to provide some context for your commission as you decide and deliberate on this particular item. The first, I just want to indicate that the existing zoning ordinance, people are allowed to have these type of facilities and these type of requests under 100 people as a by right use now. So I just wanted to make it clear for everybody that just like you at your house, you're allowed to host something for 100 people or less. It can be an event, and you go through that aspect of it. So that is the standard by which everyone is allowed to have currently. The first item I want to talk about is the modification of the CUP, as indicated by the applicant. Going back is a little bit odd from how the commission and the county usually addresses these. In my opinion, it's more appropriate to go the other way around. If your commission is in favor of this project and you do want to put a time limit on it, you have the authority to change that date, 3 years, 5 years, whatever is appropriate. But to go a permanent and then come back, I do agree that is kind of an odd type of way to handle that type of request, just because we would have to show how the applicant is not in compliance with all the existing standards that we've implemented to go back and reconsider his CUP. So just in that instance, it's more appropriate to decide what a temporary event would be, and then when that expired, consider again whether you'd want it to be permanent as opposed to the other way around. I do wanted to touch base on the alcohol. Again, they would be allowed to serve alcohol. They would have to get any appropriate license that they would need to go through to allow for that. We do have condition 6I that specifies that no alcohol would be served after 9 o'clock. I know that the applicant had asked it for 9:30. Staff has actually recommended I have a proposed change to that condition. Typically for requests like this, we say an hour before the event concludes. So I actually would include language that says no alcohol should be served after 9 p.m. or 1 hour prior to the conclusion of each event. So if the event was going to end at 5, then the alcohol would stop being served at 4 o'clock, and vice versa. Again, we do have the conditions include a 10 p.m. Last date or last time in which an event could go till, and then it allows for an hour for cleanup. So the proposed conditions, as staff is recommending them, would specify that an event can't go longer than 10, and we do, just for clarification purposes for everybody involved, specify that we do allow then for an hour after 10 to allow the appropriate cleanup to commence. Finally, the only thing I wanted to touch base, again, this is an 18-acre project site, and we do have that existing barn. If your commission is concerned, staff is recommending that no amplified music or amplified sound occur outside of the barn. If your commission is concerned that may not be sufficient enough, it is within your purview if you believe that the applicant should incorporate soundproofing of the barn in any way. That would be something that your commission could decide to incorporate as part of a condition. But again, I just throw that out there. That is not anything that we are recommending or specified at this time, but that would be an additional measure if your commission is concerned about the noise and that you don't believe our condition has gone far enough in that particular aspect. That would be another possibility that you could think about. But again, I just want to provide those clarifications. And again, we'd be happy to answer any questions your commission may have.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Commissioner Judge, it looks like you're next on the list.
I appreciate that, Madam Chair. I do have few different questions. I'd like to start with staff first. Obviously, there's comments being about noise and traffic and safety with any project. I think that's something that all the people look at. I do have a question regarding sound and amplification. Is there a limit that's allowed just in general for general public to allow sound up to a certain amount of time throughout the evening and a decibel level that's required? You may know of, Mr. Murphy?
Commissioner Judge through the chair. So I'm going to answer that in two-part question. The county has a noise ordinance or a nuisance ordinance to where if you're at your home, clearly you may have a neighbor that plays music and, it's expected that music could be played in, backyard or anything along those lines. But clearly if it gets to a level where it qualifies as a nuisance, we have a way to address that. So that is separate though than what your question generally is. To answer your question specifically on the aspect of it, when we consider proposed projects, the general standard is it a project that creates a decibel of 65 outside is within the standards, and if it creates a decibel that exceeds 45 to the neighbor who's indoor, then that would be a noise that would require mitigation or something to be addressed. So in that particular case, whatever the project may be, in this case it's an event venue, but it could be any type of project. If it created noise to a level where it was higher than 45 decibels to the adjacent property when they were indoor, then that would be require mitigation. If it created noise that exceeded 65 decibels to the property next door, from an outside perspective, then it would require mitigation. So 65 and 45 are the level that we utilize in terms of determining whether or not a project would create an impact to the adjacent properties.
Okay, I appreciate that clarification. Thank you, Mr. Murphy. That was actually what I was looking for. The next question I have is, I notated how the staff have recommended that portable restrooms will be allowed and the site is not doing any potable water. Is there any issue that the facility getting water to the barn facility or it doesn't have access to any type of facility water on the site? And the real reason I'm asking is I have no issue with them not having water to the site. I am just thinking in most events that we have, if there is simply a spill or someone drops food or they need to mop something, mostly you need to have some sort of place where you can at least have a mop sink somewhere, a mop you could use to wash off and use and clean up if they're cleaning the event in the evening. If they don't have any type of water use at all in the facility, I'm just wondering how that might be addressed. I don't know if that was brought up anywhere.
Commissioner Judge, through the chair, I believe that that would best be a question asked to the project applicant in terms of, it could be that the structure of the barn, they were trying to keep an authentic looking feel, and so they decided not to incorporate a faucet within that barn or anything along those lines. But that is also something that your commission could incorporate as conditions. When it comes to event venues, there's that balance between, how much we want to incorporate in terms of restrooms. If you do believe that you want to have a facility where you think it needs to have a permanent restroom, those are conditions that you can incorporate as well. We typically don't put that as a condition, like to have a mandated restroom in there, unless we know for sure it's a permanent venue. I know on cases where we've had similar, where we were recommending a permanent venue, we also included standards that they had to have a permanent restroom to service that use. Again, this one, we had not gotten to where it had a permanent status yet, so that's why we had believed that the trailer restrooms would be sufficient. But again, in terms of the overall use of water at that site for faucets and that kind of stuff, I think that's a better question to ask the project applicant.
Okay, I will on that. And then I did have another question as well for staff as well. I noticed on Kern County Environmental Health Division, item number 8, they said that portable toilets would not be permitted, but we are requesting portable restrooms to be allowed. Is there a variance between environmental health is requesting compared to these type of portable restrooms, or were there a certain style they were not wanting to support? And I was looking for that clarification. And that was item number 8 under Kern County Environmental Health, section number B.
Commissioner Josh,
Yes.
to the chair. That request through environmental health was regarding a permanent entitlement. So, we are not recommending permanent entitlement at this time. If we were, we would be evaluating the site and having them do studies regarding any kind of hookups or septic that they may be required to have if they were to pursue permanent entitlement. So that comment from environmental health is regarding a permanent entitlement.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification. And those are my questions for staff. And then I want to conclude with a couple of quick items on my side. I would say that I understand the concerns that some of the community has raised with the consumption of alcohol, with driving in that area. I personally believe that this could be a good event center for the community out there. Obviously, anytime some of these type of events come together, there are concerns that do arise. I think staff did a good job trying to mitigate that with the timelines and with the minimal guest requirements on the site. One thing that I would request, and I return to my fellow commissioners for their comments on this as well, they did mention a lot of these might be birthday parties, bridal showers, or community events coming together. I understand the idea of the 1 hour prior to closing for the alcohol consumption. My thought or recommendation would be a 30-minute allowance. Reason being is if you have gone to a baby shower, some of them are only 2 hours long, or some events are very minimal in time length. And so if you say an hour minimum, I mean, you're kind of minimizing the event and the functionality of the event. I think allowing a 30-minute timeline prior to the end of any event would still suffice and still allow the event to be successful, at the same time allowing the variance to letting people close up and leave the event. So that would be one thing I'd let my fellow commissioners also comment on. And the last thing I would want to say is that, safety here is always a concern. But unfortunately, I don't want to make any assumptions that this event will create more accidents compared to just your regular individuals driving at night and could be drinking and could get in an accident as well. Our duty here is to understand if this project can make sense in regards to land use and in regards to the zoning capabilities of the area, and not really assume what individuals may do once they get in their vehicles. All we can do is put guidelines in place to mitigate safety, and I think that we've done the best we can here. So I appreciate staff's comments on these, and I think this is a good project. I'm definitely in support of it.
Commissioner Judge, would you like to hear from the applicant on the water conversation?
Yeah, actually, I appreciate that, but my comment on that would be is if I can't hear the applicant, but my request would be is since it's not permanent, which I agree to that idea of not being permanent, that mitigates the idea of having a permanent water fixture there. But something I would recommend, again, my fellow commissioners to comment on as well, is if they are providing temporary toilets and restrooms for use, I think it would be an idea to also include maybe a temporary wash basin for cleanup purposes that they could use on site, which doesn't affect the cosmetic of the barn, but allows the ability for them to clean up a mess and or service the area after the event is over. Something as basic just to be able to do clean, sweep, mop. Water in that sense it would be needed, and I hate to see someone trying to open up water bottles and use those as an opportunity. So I think that would be a good adjustment to allow this if we keep it in the temporary status. So unless the applicant wants to comment on that at this point, I let my other fellow commissioners comment on that first, I believe. Thank you.
If the applicant is on the line, would you like to make a comment regarding Commissioner Judge's recommendation on a wash basin inside of the venue for cleanup purposes?
Yes, we would like to make a comment.
Please proceed. State your name for the record.
My name is Victor Polina, and we have a faucet out there for like irrigation. It's non-potable water, and that's what we would use in case we have to clean up spills. Also, we have a well that the water table that's 17 feet, and it's drilled to 350 feet. So we have plenty of water, non-potable water, to provide the facilities with cleanup and such.
Thank you, Mr. Polina. We will move it back to the commissioners. It looks like Commissioner Ashley is next for his comments.
Thank you very much. First of all, I'd like to commend staff. Ms. Huskin, welcome. Great job, great presentation as usual, Ms. Simon. I know the area very well. I live in the neighborhood, not directly in Sand Canyon, but I'm very familiar with the area. I think the water issues, if I'm not mistaken, this is adjudicated water basin, so the amount of water that's allocated to that property is already kind of set. Correct me if I'm wrong on that part. So looks like they're not planning a lot of water use. I think I would maybe make a recommendation. I agree with the applicant in saying that a 3-year time frame, COVID is obviously going to affect probably the front end of that piece. So I might make a recommendation that we kind of split the middle there and go with a 4-year time frame on the conditional use permit. I do agree that it's odd to put us in the position of having to go back and review. I think they should come back in after there's been a trial period, and I think giving them a year up front would make sense there. As Mr. Murphy said, there's a noise ordinance. If the noise exceeds the 65 dB at the property line, then there's a way to remedy that with the project proponent. So I think those boxes have been checked. I'm in support of the project, and I appreciate staff's recommendations on this.
Thank you, Commissioner Ashley. Commissioner McGivney?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just technical questions I guess I had for this. So if this property, or this conditional use permit, should say, on this property reverts, I guess it goes back to the original zoning, right, of agricultural, is that correct?
Commissioner McGivney through the chair. So this applicant is not requesting a change in zoning. So an event venue is a use that we've identified is an authorized use in an A-zone property, provided they receive a conditional use permit. So if approved, it runs with the land, and if they activate it, we also have a time limit that if they don't activate the CUP within a number of years, then the CUP become null and void, and if they wanted to start later, then they would have to ask again. But yes, no, this is a use that we've identified as authorized in an A-zone property, provided they go through this hearing process and obtain a conditional use permit.
Okay, and is there Mr. Murphy, is there a amount now of people, a number of people now that you can have an event? You said it's 100, is that correct? They can have events now, so they can be advertising now because they can put up to 100 people in this, is that correct?
Yes, we have according to our zoning ordinance, we have a determination that if you have something under 100 people, that is an authorized use and it is allowed. So, if someone holds an event or something along those lines and they are under that amount, then they are allowed to hold that event. Now, putting up signage and everything along those lines, clearly that now is becoming a business. So when you start, having an event is one thing. That doesn't mean that you've put up a whole bunch of signs and you kind of go through that aspect of adequately advertising and kind of going through that. But no, in general, anybody would be able to host an event for 100 people.
Okay, so that might answer the question of one of the callers here, it's the Vieras, on, why they would have advertising or some sense of what's been going on there before this conditional use permit, is that correct?
Commissioner McGivney through the chair. I don't know specifically in terms of what has happened prior to this particular item coming before your hearing tonight. I can tell you that in the course of the 15 years I've worked here, a lot of times people come to us because they thought they could do something and then someone noticed something and said, wait a minute, are you allowed to do that? Why don't you call the planning department? And then we have gone through and said, oh wait, no, you can't do that, or this is the process you have to go through and require to do that. I do know that for uses that people do establish, if they are actively using a use that they needed approval from, they would have to go through a violation hearing. I can tell you in this particular case, they're not holding any events. So there is no violation that has occurred on this particular site right now, because we can only say that there's a violation if they're actually holding an event and they're not holding any events that exceed 100 people or anything along those lines. So the remedy in that particular case would have been, don't hold any events, process a conditional use permit, which is where they are right now.
Okay, thank you.
So you can go to their web.
I have no additional comments. I think my fellow commissioners have covered all of my questions. Commissioner Sprague, did you have any additional comments or questions?
No, at this point, I've reviewed it all thoroughly, and knowing that they have a secondary fire access there is water adjacent and available, non-potable, for cleanups and et cetera. I think that the applicants have answered all the questions that I would have had, so therefore I'm in support of the project. So I'll come back to other commissioners for motion and action.
Thank you, Commissioner Sprague. Commissioner Judge.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would request my commission to comment on one of the items requested earlier. I do think that I prefer if we could allow this project to be successful. I think allowing them to request the addition of the additional 30 minutes of being able to serve instead of the 1 hour, I think that would be beneficial. I like the way I like the way Mr. Murphy explained that it should be 30 minutes prior to any event, not just 9:30. I would request to put that on the table to make that part of the motion for this project. And the second thing I'd like to probably ask the motion actually on Commissioner Ashley's point of view is I'd actually think a 5-year term would be better, because this is events take time to come to fruition. This event menu is still far from COVID from being over, not showing how they might be successful. I believe that given the amount of time to build a status and a base, and most businesses need something that to make sense if it can work. And so my item would be two items, to allow up to 5 years and up to 9:30 on the consumption of alcohol.
Would you like to make that a motion, or are you just?
So I will make a motion. Thank you. I wanted to see if any comments. Seeing none, I'll turn that into a motion saying I would like to make a motion to approve this project, to make a motion for this approval of this project as read and record by staff, with the additions of 2 modifications to the staff report. One of the time frame from instead of reading to 1 hour prior to 30 minutes prior for the consumption of alcohol, and a term of 3 years to 5 years.
Thank you, Commissioner Judge. Is there a second?
Before we go,
5 years.
just so we're clear, I'll clarify that in the specific language for the staff report.
That would be
The 2
great.
conditions you are proposing in your modification, you would be modifying condition 2 to where it says a temporary duration of 5 years. And then you are also proposing a modification to condition 6I. And 6I would then read, alcoholic beverages shall not be served after 9:30 p.m. or 1/2 hour prior to the conclusion of each event. Those would be the 2 changes that you indicated right there.
Thank you, Mr. Irving. Thanks for clarification. Yes, that is.
I'll second that motion.
We have a first and a second. Are there any other concerns? Seeing none, we'll go to a vote.
4 ayes, 1 no.
Great, thank you. Mr. Murphy, do we have any other comments on this item?
We do not, but this is a final decision, so it is subject to an appeal. So I'd like to read the appeal process again.
Thank you.
For projects where the Planning Commission action is final, those actions are subject to appeal to the Board of Supervisors by any interested person, and no development proposed by any application may be authorized until after the final date of appeal. That appeal may be filed with the Kern County Planning and Natural Resources Department, located at 2700 M Street, Suite 100 in Bakersfield, with a filing fee of $540 on forms we have available at the department and that are on our website. That filing must be made within 14 days of and including the date of this hearing. If no appeal is received, the action of your commission is final.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. We're moving on to item number 5. Do I get to hear from Ms. Simon again, or Mr. Murphy?
No, that's part of it.
Item 5 was, sorry.
Oh,
Item
sorry.
5 was referred back to staff. So
Thank
you're
you.
actually at the conclusion of your meeting.
Thank you, Commissioner Judge. Thank you. We are at item H, adjournment. The next Planning Commission meeting is scheduled for March 11th, 2021.
Motion?
Second.
All right, all ayes?
Ayes.
Aye. Thank you.
Aye.
as well as alluring new marketing methods, such as radio advertising.
You beauty, you youth, you vim.